Welcome to Darnley Cyber Cafe. Coffee break time. Got a minute? This is an unscripted raw podcast about my views and perspectives on things that are going on in the world. Episode 84. Robotic Nightmare. I have quite the wild story for you today. Now imagine relaxing at home, minding your own business, when suddenly your robot vacuum, yes, the one you use to clean up your floor and pet hair, starts chasing your dog and hurling slurs at you. Well, this exact nightmare happened to some unfortunate souls of the Ecovacs Deebot X2 Omni earlier this year. It all began when several Deebot X2 owners across the US cities from Minnesota to Los Angeles reported that their vacuums had suddenly started acting out. Things such as chasing pets, spewing racist slurs, and turning family movie nights into a tech horror show. According to one Minnesota lawyer, he said he was watching TV with his family when he started hearing garbled noises coming from the vacuum. At first, it sounded like a broken radio signal, but things escalated quickly. After resetting the robot, they said they heard what this lawyer described as a teenage voice yelling racial slurs. But that wasn't an isolated incident. In Los Angeles, another Deebot X2 user reported that their vacuum actually started chasing their dog while shouting at it. It's funny to think about, but it's something that is literally out of a sci-fi horror film, except this is all too real for these people. Check out episode 59, where I talk more about the comparisons of Netflix's Black Mirror episodes and I make comparison to today's real world cyber threats. It's very interesting. Go take a look. Take a listen. So, what caused these vacuums to go rogue? Well, according to Ecovacs, a statement that they released was saying that this was due to a credential stuffing event. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with the term, credential stuffing is when hackers use previously stolen usernames and passwords to break into other accounts. In this case, the hackers managed to get into the Deebot X2 vacuums. Ecovacs responded by blocking the IP addresses behind the attack and stated that there was no evidence suggesting that the hackers had stolen usernames and passwords directly from their system. Now, this may sound reassuring on the surface, but it points to a much larger issue here about smart home security. Now, understand that we trust these devices with so much access to our homes and our lives, but when something goes wrong, it feels incredibly invasive. Just like if you ever had yourself broken, if you ever had your home broken into, your sanctuary it doesn't feel the same anymore. So it now goes just not about cleaning the floor anymore, but these devices are connected to the internet. And often the IoT security isn't as airtight as we assume they were. Now, in fact, this wasn't the first time security concerns have been popped up from smart devices. Now, last year, researchers discovered a flaw in the Deebot X2, which allowed them to bypass its PIN entry system. Now, Ecovacs said they patched that issue and promised another security update coming this November in 2024. However, when it comes to smart home devices, it seems like the risk is always there. And, understanding that everything from doorbell cameras to fridges to your smart assistant to the cloud, the potential for hackers to gain access is always present. The Deebot X2 incident underscores a larger problem. Many of these gadgets require a constant internet connection to function, which obviously makes them vulnerable to attacks. And while some of these companies take security seriously, I take that with a grain of sand, to be honest. Others don't offer easy ways to report these vulnerabilities, leaving us at the mercy of weak defenses and illy programmed software. Now, as users, we also need to do our own part. understand using simple steps such as using strong, unique passwords and enabling that pesky two-factor authentication can make a huge difference in protecting ourselves. But even with that, it can feel unsettling knowing that your vacuum could be hacked into, or any other Internet of Things devices that you have in your home. Now, speaking of unsettling, smart home security blunders aren't limited to hacking incidences. There have been many cases where people have shown other owners camera feeds by mistake. And it's simply a glitch that is creepy as it's going to get, to be honest. Now, understanding that while companies work to fix these bugs and vulnerabilities, it is very clear that we still have to find a way to go before smart home tech is truly secure. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's kind of an oxymoron in itself. Now, before I wrap up this episode, I'm going to make a quick detour. Before, I actually asked our listeners and our donors to share some of their weirdest smart tech experiences, and the responses were pretty entertaining. Now, one listener, Sarah from New York, told us that her smart fridge randomly started blasting classical music at full volume in the middle of the night. That would give you creeps, to be honest. Another listener, Carlos from Miami, said to me that his toddler managed to order 10 pounds of dog food through his smart speaker. So yeah, while this smart tech is convenient, it is definitely has its share of strange moments. Whether it's vacuums gone rogue or wild or unexpected serenades from your fridge, it's a reminder that we're still living in the early days of the smart home era. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better. All right, my friends, that's all the time we have for today's coffee break. Stay safe out there in the digital world and be sure to change or double check those passwords that you have. I'll be back next week with more tech news and hopefully fewer haunted vacuums. Until then, keep your devices in check and your home a hacker-free zone. Now get back to work.